my lovely friends. My name's Rue. How do you do? Welcome back to my channel. I haven't done soft speaking in a while. It's kind of weird. As you may have seen by the title, today we're doing a weird video. I don't know. Maybe it's not weird. But I am going to read to you the DSM diagnostic criteria for autism. I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea, but my thinking, hold on, diagnostic criteria, CDC, let's go to the CDC. Okay. So my thinking here is, there's probably, like, some of you who may think you're autistic and are, like, going through that process because you've, told me in the comment section and stuff. So, because I make autism videos occasionally, I haven't in a very long time. But a lot of you found me through that content, so I thought it might be helpful, interesting to read through the diagnostic criteria, because that is something that I did when I was learning about autism, like, as you do. And if you're new to my channel, I was diagnosed as autistic in October of 2021, correct? I believe. But before that, I did a lot of reading myself. And I find that it can be very overwhelming, at least to me it was. So maybe this can help you understand the diagnostic criteria with a little less stress. That's what we're doing today. So that's my thought process. And I'll do some, nice relaxing phone tapping as well. Just keep it chill. Okay, so diagnostic criteria for ASD from the DSM-5. Okay, so to meet the diagnostic criteria for ASD according to the DSM-5, a child must have persistent deficits in each of 3 areas of social communication and interaction. See A1 through A3 below. Plus at least 2 of 4 types of restricted repetitive behaviors. See B1 through B4. So it's basically saying, okay, so yeah, you have to have all 3 from A, and you have to have 2 from B, which is a list of 4. So, all of these first ones I read are, like, necessary for you to be diagnosed with also autism. I can't talk. Okay, so A. Okay, so this is the overarching A. Persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts as manifested by the following, currently or by history. Examples are illustrative, not exhaustive. See text. Okay, so this is number 1, A1. So, deficits in social emotional reciprocity, ranging, for example, from abnormal social approach and failure of normal back and forth conversation to reduced sharing of interests, emotions, or affect, to failure to initiate or respond to social interactions. So that's A1. You have to have that. A2. Deficits in non-verbal communicate. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I don't know if it's helpful because I can't freaking talk. Okay. Deficits in nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction, ranging, for example, from poorly integrated verbal and nonverbal communication to abnormalities in eye contact and body language, or deficits in understanding and use of gestures to a total lack of facial expressions and nonverbal communication. So that's A2. A3. Deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships, ranging, for example, from difficulties adjusting behavior to suit various social contexts, to difficulties in sharing imaginative play or in making friends, to absence of interest in peers. So, you have to have all three of those, I guess they call them deficits. And then you would be like put into a level. So there's 3 levels. So it says specify current severity. Severity is based on social communication impairments and restricted repetitive patterns of behavior. For each criterion, severity is described in 3 levels. So you guys may have heard of this before. And it's based on your support needs. So level 3 requires very substantial support. Level 2 requires substantial support. Level 1 requires support. Apologies if my voice is cracking. Maybe I should have whispered this. Okay. So this is B, category B, which you have to have 2 of the 4 to qualify for diagnosis. Okay, so B is restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities, as manifested by at least 2 of the following currently or by history. Examples are illustrative, not exhaustive. Okay, so number 1. Stereotyped or repetitive motor movements, use of objects or speech. In parentheses, e.g., simple motor stereotypes, lining up toys or flipping objects, echolalia, idiosyncratic phrases. So like stimming. Number 2. Insistence on sameness and flexible adherence to routines or ritualized patterns of verbal or nonverbal behavior. In parentheses, e.g., extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, need to take same route or eat same food every day. So, number 3. Highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus. In parentheses, e.g., strong attachment to or preoccupation with unusual objects, excessively circumscribed or struggling with words today. Perseverative interests. Special interests. That was me, not that. It doesn't say special interest. And number 4, hyper or hyporeactivity to sensory input or unusual interest in sensory aspects of the environment. In parentheses, e.g., apparent indifference to pain, temperature, adverse response to specific sounds or textures, excessive smelling or touching of objects, visual fascination with lights or movement. So, your sensory stuff. So, you have to have 2 of the 4 of those things. And as I said in the last one, they rate you by level of support needs and then moving along. So this is C. It says symptoms must be present in the early developmental period, but may not become fully manifest until social demands exceed limited capacities or may be masked by learning strategies in later life, which I feel like is such an important thing to include because that's me. I hit a limit and I got diagnosed. So, not that there weren't signs, but like it didn't hinder me significantly, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of late diagnosed people sort of like do okay, and then they like crash and burn, and then they're like, oh, I'm autistic. And moving along, this is under D. It says symptoms cause clinically significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of current functioning. And this is interesting to me because, like, I think I'm not like an expert or anything, which I probably should have said at the beginning of the video, but I forgot. But a lot of these like diagnoses, I feel like you're only gonna get diagnosed if your symptoms, condition cause you significant like disability or distress or whatever. Because I think, and this is my opinion, there are a lot of autistic people that are doing okay, so they wouldn't qualify for a diagnosis, but they still have the same like inner workings, you know? Like, there's people I notice in my life who are like that, but I don't think they would qualify for a like professional diagnosis because they're doing all right, you know? They've found a way to make it work. But that's like one of the things. It has to like impact your life in some way, like negatively. Okay, and then E says these disturbances are not better explained by intellectual disability, in parentheses, intellectual developmental disorder, or global developmental delay. Intellectual disability and autism spectrum disorder frequently co-occur. To make comorbid diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and intellectual disability, social communication should be below the expected for general developmental level. This is something that I noticed on my diagnosis like paperwork, is it says autism without intellectual disability. So you can also very frequently have autism with an intellectual disability. I believe I read that it's somewhere around like 40% of autistic people also have an intellectual disability. Don't quote me on that. I read it a while ago, so maybe it's not as accurate or up to date, but it's somewhere around there. It's like quite a substantial group. Okay, so there's like a note under this. It says, individuals with well-established DSM-4 diagnosis of autistic disorder, Asperger's disorder, or pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, should be given the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Individuals who have marked deficits in social communication, but whose symptoms do not otherwise meet criteria for autism diagnosis disorder, should be evaluated for social pragmatic communication disorder. So this is just kind of going over how they sort of like combined a few different diagnoses into autism spectrum disorder because they were like too similar. So like these diagnoses don't exist anymore. They're all under like autism spectrum disorder. So if you were like previously diagnosed with one of these other conditions, you would be considered autistic now. Okay, under that it says specify if with or without accompanying intellectual impairment, with or without accompanying language impairment, associated with known medical or genetic condition or environmental factor, associated with another neurodevelopmental, mental, or behavioral disorder, with catatonia, whatever. These are just, I guess, like things that can go along with autism that aren't like absolutely, that aren't always there. It's just like common occurrences, you know. So that's it. That's the overview of what autism is. So perhaps you relate to this. Perhaps you qualify for this. Maybe you don't. To me, like, reading over the diagnostic criteria is just like, it just feels like so normal to me, all these things. And I'm just like, I feel like a lot of people fall under these categories. And I think if more people like actually read the diagnostic criteria, there would be less of this like, oh, you don't look autistic thing, you know? Like, I just realized I was doing laundry and I kept hearing it in the background. I had to like go turn it off. So what I think I was saying is, I think if more people actually read the diagnostic criteria, like, they wouldn't be so surprised, like, when people say they're autistic. Because, like, to me, it doesn't feel that restrictive. Like, it just, like, anytime I feel like I have, like, imposter syndrome, which I don't think is as much anymore, but it does happen. Like, literally all I have to do is read the diagnostic criteria, and it's like, yep, that's me, alright. Like, you know. Anyways. I don't know if this was relaxing, but if you have been wanting to read the autism diagnosis criteria, I hope this was helpful. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. Obviously, like, don't take my video as like a definitive proof of something. Like, please go, you know, do some reading yourself and maybe talk to someone about it. But also, that's very difficult. It's very difficult to find like psychologists and stuff. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not an expert. I'm not like a diagnostician. Just an autistic person who wanted to read you the criteria. So yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed. And I thank you guys for hanging out today. I love you. You're doing amazing, and I will see you